Hello. This is going to be something a little bit different than what I normally put on my channel. This series of videos is going to be a speedrun guide, both visual and with some commentary in it. I know there have been people that do just visual speedruns, but I don't see a whole lot like talking kind of through everything, why we do what we do, things of that nature. So I'm going to take an opportunity to get that information out for anyone that wants to learn how to speedrun this game, or is starting to do so, or is just kind of wanted to take that next step and kind of get some of the more advanced knowledge that are played at the higher level. This is going to be done on the Rare Replay. I will do separate videos for the Xbox version, as well I will do separate videos for book percent, 100%, category situations like that. These first 4 videos are going to be exclusively Rare Replay for cutscene, new game, and individual chapters, because there are different sets of strats based on category. With that being said and everything explained, let's go ahead and get started. Chapter 1 is very much a tutorial level. There's not a whole lot. There's really about 2, maybe 3 rooms that are going to trip you up. There is kind of some small tech that can be useful in this and further down the line of the game as well. The first thing that's going to happen is when you start the hallway, there's 5 imps spawned in when you first. One of those imps is going to go from the bottom left-hand corner of the screen to the middle of the screen. What you're going to want to look for there is you're going to look for the possibility of getting a multi-kill, which basically to pretty much guarantee that you're going to want 2 imps right next to each other. If that scenario does occur, you are going to want to prioritize that. If not, or if everyone's kind of spread apart, what you want to go back to the bottom left corner of the screen, and there's going to be one off screen that you're going to want to stun, and then focus on everyone else. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the run hallways. I'm going to show you what exactly I mean by that. 2 minutes, 45 seconds to cutscenes. I don't need to just skip it because it's a new file. So this bottom one's going to come up. He's going to go towards the middle of the screen. I don't like the positioning of where that's at. Everyone's a little too spaced away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the bottom left corner. I'm going to take care of the one on the bottom left. So I'm going to go down there. I'm going to stun him. Anybody that runs away, you do want to prioritize that. You also want to prioritize getting any multi-kills. Before I kill this last one, I am going to show off this mechanic. So if you hit some of the smaller certain enemies in the game 1 time, it will stun and it will be unable to move or run away. This is an important thing to know in some of the later rooms, especially rooms that have non-aggressive enemies that you need to kill. There are a couple of rooms that come to mind, but all you have to do is just 1 hit, stun, and then you can work on something else, or you can use it to, immediately get rid of as needed. The second portion of this room, you're just going to mash tax and grab a chair, and there's going to be I believe it is 10 additional things that are going to spawn in. This time we're just going to make use of the chair to try and get as much as possible. The main thing here is you want to minimize the amount of swings you have. Obviously, the more enemies you take out per swing, the less swings you have to do, because the swings do take a decent chunk of time. I did not get the ideal situation. The ideal situation is having, when you get the first swing, having everyone kind of do their split jump animation, and when everyone's not moving, you can go and it moves out much easier. The only other thing that you can do with this room is if you can get pretty much where Ribbons is standing, you can get somewhere lined up where he is. The animation that you saw when the room ended will be canceled. I have had it done where it's a partial cancel animation, or I've had the full animation cancel. But there still will be like a slight half-second where he just kind of stands and then you can move. But that is faster than having the full animation played. That being said, that's pretty much all the basic stuff. Let's get going and let's get started. The next room is going to be Trophy, and there's not a whole lot going here. It's a walkthrough room. It's auto-scrolling. You're going to deal with these 4, up to 4 of these scares. The first one's going to be all A. The second one's going to be 2 A's, 2 B's. Third is going to be a combination of A, B, and X. And then the fourth will be A, B, Y, and X. 1 each. What you're looking for ideally, because this room is RNG based, is you want 2 scares, and then you want to duck the bats, and then you want just 1 more scare. So you're either going to get 3 or 4, kind of depending on how things go. So right now, I'm at 2. I've ducked the bats. Ducking the bats is the important part of this room, because you are guaranteed once you do that, you are, at this point, guaranteed 1 scare. So if you hit the first 3 scares before you duck the bats, you're getting hit with the 4th no matter what happens, because it will always occur to get the 1 after you duck the bats. This is my 3rd, yep. So that was the mandatory one, and that's the 3. And that's kind of that's your best case scenario for this room. The button sequences are small. They're 4 buttons apiece. They don't get any bigger than that in the room. It's again very much introductory, teaching you how to do things like that. Billiard, we are not going to do anything here. This is a simple walkthrough room. All we're going to do is just get from one door to the other. So you're just going to come up here, try and take as nice of a line as you can, and kind of get out of the room as soon as possible. The gaming room, go ahead and skip this. You're going to want to get over to that Xbox box. That's where the key's located, and the door's going to be right next to it. There's nothing else that you need to do with this room. What I like to do is hold down and work the camera around, and then adjust the control stick as needed from there. Break the box, challenge ends, you get out of the room, no issues. And that is that. Now we're back in Billiard, and this is one of what I would say probably the 3 rooms that are going to, if you're trying to do individual chapters, one of the 3 rooms that will cause you issues. This is the first one that has an actual strap. So the one thing I am going to show here, just for a minute, is the animation with this. When this is active, or when you are punching or doing anything of that nature, this is your hit box, your hurt box, and your activation box. So this is how you hit enemies, how you get hurt by enemies, and what you activate. There's a door, every door has a trigger point. There is a certain point where you cross and the room activates. If you can get a melee off slightly earlier, you can start it just a little bit earlier. So you heard the melee in the background to get it just a little bit sooner. It's not a whole lot, but you can do enough of it in the run to where it is not too much of an issue. Now to the challenge itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the camera, I'm going to head to the left side of this pool table, and I'm going to grab this trophy. You're going to grab this, you're going to try and line up the best you can. You're going to try and line up the best you can to keep everybody on the ground. Ideally what you want to do is you want to put all 3 of them on the ground with 1 trophy throw. Obviously that did not go to plan, but that's the general idea. Once you've got those 3 dead, you're going to want to come to the middle of this table. You're going to want everyone to come to you, and then you're going to want to pop the table. I am going to stun here, and then pull. What you don't want to do, or what I found to be difficult, is you don't want to, when they 5 spawn in, you don't want to be standing here. Because what I've noticed is the 2 that will spawn, would be directly in front of Cooper, like to just stand there and do nothing. And it wastes time. Get that. Usually, believe the hitbox. It's relatively big. Like you saw, kind of the circumference of the pool table as it got swung. And obviously, if you miss one, then you're going to have to just kill the spare one by hand. What I would do with that is I would just kind of work the enemy towards the door, try to get them and kick them towards the door. That way, you're ending the room as close to the door as possible. The lower corridors here is going to be pretty simplistic. There's not a whole lot going on here, but this is going to be one of the rooms that if you need to practice scare canceling, which will be what I show here in a second, or just this idea that you can cancel animations. This is a good room. It is not the best room, though. That's going to be a room in Chapter 2 that's going to be really good if you need to practice. So what I'm going to do is this is going, this lamp is going, not lamp, it's telephone. Telephone is going to pop a scare. When you get hit with it, it, I believe, halves your movement speed, or I don't know what the exact percentage is, but you are at a decreased movement speed and unable to attack. What you want to do to get out of it is you're going to take your right stick and you're just going to mash your right stick. So what we're going to do is I'm going to melee, get that, so I'm going to on that, but then we're going to mash the right stick, and we're going to get out of that as soon as possible. The sooner you get out of that, the sooner your movement speed returns to normal and your ability to attack returns as well. What you're then going to want to do is pay attention to this face for about here in a couple steps. You want to cancel that, and then you can do it again. The one thing you want to pay attention to is there's a visual on your timing. If you have a slight jut with it, or Cooper takes a slight jut, you are a little too late. If you are able to just go and then move straight up, that is your perfect timing, and obviously if you get the full animation, then you were too late on it. It's not a hard timing to learn, it's just something that takes time to kind of get used to. Again, so that's an example of what good timing would look like, because there was no pause or any kind of buffering between that. Cinema, like I said, it's really just the one scare cancel, and then getting to the cutscene. Once you're through the cutscene, you're just going to come through, and then what you want to try and do is, once again, you can just melee to try and get this animation to play just a little bit sooner. Like I said, on any individual basis, it doesn't save a whole lot of time, but there's enough of them to do in the game that it is worth going for, because it can save you a little bit of time in any room. This is the second room that may cause some issues if you're still kind of new to running the game, or even for players like myself, I still get tripped up on this sometimes because the room doesn't go as planned. What I've seen people do is there is a lineup spot somewhere around here that you throw straight down. I believe you break 4. It's a bit tricky to get to and does take a minute to set up. What I prefer to do is I grab this from over here, or grab this, line it up with this light, start right away. That light is solid, and the hitbox on that does break all 4. At this point, one of the chairs is going to wake up. Ideally, you want it to be one of the 3 on the back table. But again, it's completely random, so we're just going to play with what you got. What you're going to do is grab the turbo to the right of the exit. You're going to grab that, you're going to press A to pick up all of the chairs, you're then going to immediately press B to break them. You're going to break all of the unhaunted chairs, or the ones that haven't started moving yet, which will not start moving until you kill the first one. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab this one, break it. I'm going to leave that to grab the turbo here for a second. And we're just going to let him run around for a bit. We'll break everything else. We'll grab this TV, or if you want to use the chair positioning, so you can use that as well. Grab that, break it. You only have to kill the one chair, and it is out of the room, and you're done. The basement is another glorified walkthrough. But there's a little bit of stuff going on. So if I turn this corner, you can see there's a turbo. There are 2 turbo cans in this room. Well, there's this one, and there's one about halfway through the room. You're going to want to chain those together to basically ensure that you have top movement speed for the duration of the room. One thing to know is you do not have to be on top of this can to collect it. It has an activation box a small activation box surrounding it. You do not need to be in the middle. You can just go right up to the side. You can try and basically bounce off of it, and then you can just go. And like I said, this is just kind of a walkthrough, so you're just going to kind of follow the room, follow the lighting. You're going to take a right up here. You can do that. It does take a little bit of time to figure out what that spot is, but once you have that, you're going to grab this box. But like I said, you can grab that turbo without needing to turn the camera. It just takes a little bit of time to figure out what that spot is. Once we get to this point, you'll notice that I grabbed the box and not the broom. There's a reason for that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this box at them. I'm just going to put them against the wall. I can then take 1 or 2 steps and then input a melee. There is a slight bit of a jumping animation that will save me, so that will cover the rest of the distance to put me basically on top of the mummy. And then from there, we just get the kill. So throw the thing. You saw right there, there's just a bit of an animation jump. So you can cover some distance with that. The second part of this is what we're going to do is Crivenus is going to give us a candle. What we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take that candle, hit the mummy, and then what we're trying to do is we want to hit him again while he's in the air. So let's see if I can get that done, and I can. So what you'll notice is mummies do not have 40 health, they have 30 health. The initial swing, anything with this, is 10 health. If an enemy is airborne or is knocked down and gets back up, the next bit of damage they take is doubled. So what you want to do, you want to swing once to knock him into the air, and then you want to swing again to get them the 20 damage, thus doing 30, enough to kill the mummy. Now we are in Relic. Anybody that knows me, I know a lot of members of the Ghoulie community know me. I don't like this room. It sucks. That coffin right there. I will always tell you, no matter what, this room has a 1 in 6 chance. It is an RNG-based room. One of the coffins will pop a mummy. This is not one of the 6. This, I believe, is hard-coded to only ever play audio. I have never had it pop. I don't think it's physically able to pop. The remaining 6 are the 1 in 6 chance that you're looking at. I believe it equates to about a 17% chance. The difference in time between the first one and the last one is, I believe, 45 seconds. And you are stuck in this auto-scrolling movement. You can't do anything until the mummy appears. Hoping that would happen, just like that. Then it's going to be a 4-button sequence, and then you're going to go from there. We're going to try to do the same thing. I'm going to get him in the air to try and get it from 3 swings down to 2. It's not the biggest deal in the world if you don't, and then the room's going to start. So what I'm going to do, let's pause here for a second. If you do not get this first coffin, what you want to do is you want to make your way over to this coffin. This is the farthest coffin from the door. You want to work from the back of the room to the front of the room. So what we're going to do is, as I said earlier, if you knock an enemy down and let them get back up, they will take double damage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to knock all 4 mummies on the ground, and then I'm going to knock them again once they stand up to do 2 swings per mummy instead of 3. So I'm going to put him on the ground, and I'm going to walk away. We're 1, 2, so the third one's here. Do that, put you on the ground, you on the ground. I'm going to try and put you on the ground so that he's back up. And then you just put everybody on the ground, let him stand back up, takes that double damage. It's 8 swings instead of only 12. And then you are out of the room. Like I said, you do kind of want to adapt to things just based on which mummy you get popped. But again, I always try to do checks from the back of the room towards the exit. This room is just another button sequence. So there's not a whole lot going on here. I'm gonna get through the sequence, master some text, and then I'm gonna walk through. I do like grabbing this turbo. I will probably save a whole lot of time, but it is just that little bit faster. The final room in chapter 1 is going to be the cellar. This room does not have any issues or anything. Basically, you're going to see this can. This is a one-hit KO can, or an OKO can as we call it. These are going to be helpful. Anywhere you can find one of these, you're going to want to use them. I'm going to grab this. It is a 20-second timer. So I have 20 seconds. I'm going to work my way over to the end of the room. and I'm going to try a melee thing to want to start the door just a little bit earlier. And I got it there, so you'll see the door animation started, and I was still mid-animation. After that, it's just one hit, and you're done.
Oh, yeah!
And that is going to be the end of Chapter 1. If you guys like this, found this helpful, if you want to have questions like that, leave that in the comments. Let me know. I'm going to be doing this for all chapters. I will also be doing a separate one for book percent, 100%, and if it does well enough, I will consider doing one for Amber, although I don't expect that one to go very well. But I will see you guys in Chapter 2, and we'll go from there.